What is going on, everybody? It's Alex coming back to another video, and today I am pairing up my biggest studs with my biggest duds of the draft. Obviously, these guys are not duds. I'm just a little bit lower on these guys, or a lot lower with some of these players than what the majority of the draft community feels. So I hope you guys do enjoy this. Obviously these series don't get as many views as my mock series and stuff like that, but I like producing some fun content for you guys because, again, I am pretty much a very niche type of channel, only on the draft. So if you guys are new and you guys want to see draft content literally every single day, it is quite insane that I do this, but it's fun. Always hit the like button, subscribe, stay for more because it always comes every day. So let's start this off with my first. This is gonna be 15 guys, and I might mention a couple others at the end as honorable mentions, or maybe dishonorable mentions. But starting off, this is in no particular order. Starting off, obviously, you guys aren't going to be able to see what it says projected round/draft grade. Big deal, guys. I don't think you guys care too much about that. But starting off with my number one guy, again, this is not in any particular order. It's Mac Jones. So right now he's graded an early first. Obviously, people are talking about him at number 3, and I just did my report on him. I have him as a late first. So I just honestly think that the NFL really overhypes this guy. Maybe I might be a little bit too harsh on him, but I really don't think so. Genuinely, I don't feel like he's that great of a quarterback, and like I feel people overestimate his accuracy. His ball placement is pretty garbage. I mean, I think any quarterback, if Justin Fields, Trey Lance, any of these guys had the separation and the weapons and the offensive line that a Mac Jones had, I feel like they'd have a better completion percentage and better years than Mac Jones ever did. So that's a bold take by me, but I seriously don't. I still have him as a first round grade. It's not like I'm saying he's ass, but I think that the NFL thinks that he's just so much better than he is. Maybe it's the media trying to hype it up for something it shouldn't be. But realistically, guys, Mac Jones to me is the 5th quarterback, and there's zero doubt in my mind that there's a huge gap from Trey Lance to Mac Jones. And that's me. You'll see Trey Lance on this list. So that's coming from me, who's already down more on Trey Lance than what most people are. Terrace Marshall Jr., this is not that big of a drop, but some people are putting him at like 23 to the Titans. And, I think that I had a big problem with his motor. There was the majority, about 65% of his routes were like at 60% speed. It didn't feel like he actually was putting the effort in. And to me, that was a little bit worrisome. You could see on these deep routes, he could turn it on. I knew he had 4.3 speed. I knew it. I watched him play and I did a scout report on him. I was like, God damn, this guy's potential. But why doesn't he do it every play? So for me, that knocks him down a little bit. He could end up being one of the better wide receivers in the class, 100%. But he has drop issues, and then he has that motor issue. Those are two things that are pretty big deals in the NFL, especially when you're playing against guys who are much more talented than they are in college. So I think Terrace Marshall Jr. has a pretty bright future. I don't think we can write him off. My guy Mason definitely doesn't like him, but I respect his opinion. He respects mine. I just think personally Terrace Marshall has a lot of potential. And sometimes when I was watching even Jamar Chase, Terrace Marshall would pop off just as much. So the potential's there. And I like him a lot. He's super young too. Next, we got Brady Christensen out of BYU. Whew, this is a fun one. There's really nothing I like about Brady. And the numbers say that he's amazing. That's wonderful. And I came in hoping that I put him as a late one, maybe a mid one. I was like, dude, this guy's going to be a beast. I didn't like it at all. Anchor, garbage. He's super light, by the way. Very light. He looks like he gets bullied around by a lot of people. And the problem is he has no power. He puts up like 30 bench reps. Who cares? You don't see that in the game. I hope that he can translate it. I really do. I think that if he adds more strength and maybe a little bit more weight, he can be a tackle in the NFL. But he's like 32-inch arms. That's Elijah Vera Tucker length, and that's really scary. That's a very common theme with most of the tackles in this draft. They have stub arms. I don't know why, but God decided to turn down the arm size on this group, and it's a little bit worrisome because I don't know how many of these guys will actually pan out being tackles when they can't make first contact. And Brady Christensen was that type where he was very reactionary. He never made the first contact, and that is very dangerous. Now, it could be something that he's dealing with where maybe it's a technique issue that can be coached. That's why I have him as a late 4th. I have him as a late 5th. Like, realistically, the potential is there for a late 4th. is something that you take anyways, just because he was pretty damn productive as a tackle. But I mean, the form wasn't good. He couldn't hit with the first contact. He got bullied by a lot of dudes. Peyton Turner put him on a damn spin cycle. It was really, really shocking. And it's why you don't trust the PFF grades. You have to see it with your own eyes. PFF's a really good guide to see how consistent they are. But if you look at the PFF grade and it's like a 70 and you see him play really well, then you start looking and seeing why would that grade be lower. With Brady, I was trying to be like, why the hell is this grade this high? It was just because somebody wasn't always getting in on Zach Wilson. To be honest, more guys should have, because they started breaking free from Brady pretty damn quickly. And if it wasn't for Zach Wilson being as talented as he is, I feel like his grade would have been much lower. Next is Kelvin Joseph. He ran in the 4.3s. Like, so that's the only reason why I have him as a late third. But I was thinking maybe put him as an early fourth. But Kelvin Joseph, to me, I watched Kyle Pitts, and that was the first time I ever saw Kelvin Joseph. He looked lost against Kyle Pitts. He looked lost, and many people will. Many people did. But when you see guys like Tyson Campbell get beaten up by Kyle Pitts, but still stick with him the whole time, then you see Kelvin Joseph, who gets totally destroyed on a double move. It makes me question what people see in Kelvin Joseph. He had, I think, a good game against Alabama. Okay, good. One good game. Where's your consistency? I saw Seth Williams get pretty much whacked all over the place by Tyson Campbell multiple times in a row. If you want a guy who's athletic, who also is going to be able to cover and is very aggressive, you go after Tyson Campbell. I think people just mixed up Kelvin Joseph and Tyson Campbell because both of them are the same age. Both of them have the same type of speed. Both of them have the same size. And I think Tyson's a lot better. So, Tyson gives up big plays as well, but I just don't really understand this Kelvin Joseph hype. Some people really love him, and man, my guy Mason and I both watched him, and shoot, along with some other scouts, we just do not see anything there. And I think people are just overhyping him. It's going to be the same thing as like a Lonnie Johnson that we saw a couple years ago. I don't really get it. Next, Andre Cisco. This is not that big of a drop, but after seeing some of the reports on him, they're just saying like this dude has literally zero awareness of what's going on. He's just like a playmaker. And the more I watched it, it's like injuries. And then it really didn't seem like he actually knew what was fully going on. That made me feel more confident sliding him down a bit. So, I mean, projected round, I think a mid third, because people are talking about like the Eagles potentially picking him up, because obviously Anthony Harris is there for only 1 year. But I seriously don't believe that Andre Cisco is as good as people think. And then some people hate on him. I don't think that's warranted. Again, mid fourth, he has potential, but I really want to see a little bit more from here rather than just RNG playmaking. Next, we got Trey Lance. So again, you know what? We're gonna shrink down. We're gonna shrink this down a little bit so you guys could see a little bit more. Of course, I just spoiled the rest of the guys. But Trey Lance, my next one. I am as a mid-burst, top 20 pick. And I mean, not top 20 pick, but top 20 player in the class. I don't really like too much about Trey Lance, but I can see why people do. I chose that yellow because of the fact that it doesn't really pop up too much on this when I actually use the real yellow, but that's besides the point. People are talking about him as a top 4 player. The NFL thinks that he could be worth a number 1 overall pick, but I just can't see it. It's a little too raw for me. And usually the guys who are more raw to end up being really damn good because they usually actually fall and go to a really good situation. But I think Trey Lance, he's good. He's good. He has potential, but he needs to learn how to control his arm, which is a little bit scary when you have a quarterback where you kind of use your arm for the majority of your play. And then one leg injury and you're gone, right? Like one leg injury and he'll never run the same. So I have my reserved doubts. If like quarterback value was not put in here, I'd probably put him even like probably around second, maybe, yeah, probably around second round. Because I just don't think he's that great of a prospect. But with the value of a quarterback, I think he's worth a mid first, and that's perfectly fine. Especially if a team fits, if the 49ers really feel like Trey Lance is the guy, I'm fine with him being taken at 3. I just think that there's better options. Rondale Moore's my next one. I have him as a mid second. I'm starting to think I should even put that to a late second. I just don't really like Rondale Moore that much. The potential's there. Obviously, we see the testing numbers. And then in 2018, he looked unbelievable. I remember when Rondale Moore committed to Purdue. I was like, I believe watching like the All-American game and when he committed, and it was like, wow, Purdue, crazy. But Rondale Moore, he's spectacular as a talent. But in 2020, you just didn't see the athleticism play. It's great to know that he can do it. It's another thing to know that he will do it while he plays. And ever since those injuries, he just has not played at that speed. And he's played at 4.5, 4.6 speed. And it's kind of embarrassing that people don't see that. And RJ Gillen, when I talked to him, he understood. He saw that too. He saw Rondale Moore was not as explosive. And it's 100% accurate. The guy just cannot move the same way. So it's worrisome to me. It's really worrisome. And he has really bad hands. He has bricks for hands. And, he can't even get separation at the top of his routes. That's the thing. His speed doesn't even translate to separation. So I really don't see what people really like about him. He's good with the ball in his hands. If you want to use him as more of that scat back type, be my guest. But the more I think about it, the more I want to push him to a late second. I just not really a big fan of Rondale Moore. Next, Tutu Atwell. So I was actually just watching some more Tutu Atwell, saying like, am I actually justified in saying a 5th round pick? Yes. All he has is speed. And I mean, he's 155 pounds. Yes, you heard that right. 155, running a 4.4. That's not spectacular. You have Terrace Marshall running a 4.38. It's like if Tutu can't run in the 4.3s and he's 155 pounds, I saw him just jump. He dropped a ball in the back of the end zone. By the way, he has worse hands than Rondale Moore. Those two are the drop twins. Also, fumbling is a huge issue for Atwell. But I saw him drop a touchdown pass in the back of the end zone versus Pitt. And then he just jumped over this little ledge into this pad and he hurt his hip. I'm like, dude, what the hell? If you're getting cracked by a safety in the NFL, you're toast, bro. Like when I'm talking about looking at Devontae Smith and saying that he could be snapped like a twig, Tutu Atwell's on another level. He's an amazing athlete. He's really bursty and he's very fast when he plays. But the NFL has really good athletes and some pretty damn good cover schemes. And I'm pretty sure that you do not gain separation just because you're fast. Like Tyreek Hill doesn't gain it just because he's fast. He's dynamic. He is elusive. He is fluid. And Tutu Atwell doesn't look like he's that great on his routes. So he has a couple of really solid routes, and that's pretty much it. That's not going to cut it in the NFL. And especially at your size, he's the lightest wide receiver, I believe, ever in the draft era. So that's very scary to me. So I put him as a mid-5th because he also sucks with the ball in his hands. Like unlike Rondale Moore, he actually is pretty useless apart from a downhill threat. Or a downfield threat. So I just would really caution people if they want to go after Tutu Atwell. Next, we got Jalen Phillips. And before you guys go crazy, I have him as a top 10 to 12 talent. Why I have him here is because I don't think people are really valuing or like really taking into account the concussion problems enough. Like as somebody who has had plenty of concussions, as somebody who has known people who have had that cognitive brain disorder and stuff, I'm really bugging on the name right now. Shit. I'm bugging, but it's like CTD or something like that. But with somebody who's known people who have that brain degenerative disorder and have just dealt with concussions personally, it's a real deal that never goes away. He had to medically retire. Yes, medically retire because he broke the amount of concussions that you're allowed to have. That's really scary, guys. I don't think that you guys understand. If you guys are saying, oh, it's not that big of a deal, it's not a normal injury. It's not an ACL where you can't just get it repaired and maybe you'll be better. No, your brain never fully repairs. It's never the same. And yeah, an injury could be never the same, but it's like it continues piling up. These things happen all the time and you don't know when they happen. Sometimes it's just brain trauma after brain trauma at CTE. It's like it's like it's a really crazy word. It's CTE, by the way. That was the word I was bugging on. I know a lot of people with CTE, but they just continue piling on each other. And at UCLA, they're the best medical school arguably in the world. If they make you retire, if they have a protocol for your health and make you retire, there's a reason for that. So the idea that people are trying to brush this off, I'm sorry, I lose a lot of respect for you guys. He's a human being. I don't care if it's his own will whether he wants to do it or not. His career very well might be shortened. And I hope to God that CTE doesn't start setting in early and he starts doing stupid shit and then starts getting himself in trouble and then lives a horrible life. I pray to God that's not the case. But it could be. And that's something that you don't take in the first. Even though he's a top 10 to 12 talent, you do not take that in the first. That's why I have him as a mid second. It's something that you guys really need to understand. It's really unfortunate. Next is Baron Browning. I was about to put like mid first here because for some reason TDN has them as like a first round prospect, and it's ridiculous to me. Honestly, I think that's complete BS. When I watched Baron Browning and Pete Werner was exponentially better. You know, I don't discount the fact that I have not watched them closely, but from first impressions, Baron Browning was the second best linebacker on that squad. So I don't really understand the huge hype. I obviously need to watch him a little bit more, apparently. But to me, it's like, dude, if I'm gonna have Pete Werner be a mid third, I have to have at least have Baron Browning as mid third as well. So I don't really get that big of hype because I haven't heard it from anybody else who knows what the hell they're talking about. Next, we got Levi Onwuzurike. So he was supposed to be a mid second, I have a mid third. I just think that IDL class is, I mean, A, not that great, but B, pretty damn deep for guys who will be semi day one impacts. So Levi didn't play last year. And he was pretty good, but he has no pass rush moves. That was his big problem, is that he wasn't really a big pass rush threat. That's at least what I got from the reports that I've seen of him. I haven't done enough Levi Onwuzurike tape study myself, but I know he's a beast. I definitely know he's a beast. There's nothing wrong with him being taken in the second. Obviously, you know me. If a player fits the scheme and it's a big need, take him around ahead. I'm perfectly fine with that because they can develop into a really good prospect then. That'll fit perfectly with your team. But it's like he wasn't fully rounded. He wasn't very well rounded. That's what I was trying to get at. And he hasn't played for a year. Don't know why he's garnering early day 2 hype. So his potential's there. But he's older. He's also not played in a while. So also he's not fully well rounded. So don't really get that too much. Peyton Turner's next. Obviously, you guys know me. I love my Washington interior defensive line. I've been sticking up for Levi for a while now. But next, Peyton Turner. You know, obviously, I saw him versus Brady Christensen. I saw that he has the tools. He definitely has the tools. He has a good size as well. He could be an impact. But I really think he's just a rotational guy at best. I think he should be an early day 3. But, you know, he could end up turning out to be really good. I haven't done enough tape study on him, but again, from the snaps I saw versus Brady Christensen, he had one really good rep. And it wasn't Brady Christensen doing really well in the other reps. It was more like Peyton Turner not doing well on the other reps. So that's why I have him as a mid-4th. He has the potential, saw it. If he gets taken to the 3rd, again, perfectly fine with it. But, you know, these are just guys I'm a little bit lower on. Speaking of someone who I'm a lot lower on is Creed Humphrey. And this is pretty generous for me because I have him more as like a 4th, maybe a 5th round pick because of a center. This is something I want to spend a little bit of time on. So Creed Humphrey, I'm a former center, and I understand the value of protecting your quarterback. You know, quarterbacks, they protect, like they depend on you. And the center is supposed to be the captain of the offensive line. It's supposed to analyze coverages, supposed to know what the hell is going on. For the first to one of the last plays I saw, literally they almost bookended the tape that I saw on Creed Humphrey. He let somebody right where he was, did not block anybody, and got Spencer Rattler annihilated twice. And it's not like I only saw those 2 times and I'm like, I need to write this guy off. No. But that started making me question, like, what the hell is this guy doing? Like, he didn't even block anybody. It's not like he decided to double team somebody and let somebody by that, because that's a common mistake that can be easily corrected with tape study. This is where he stood, looked downfield, saw nobody, and let a guy right past and get his quarterback annihilated. I saw no power in his game. He stood very upright, and he's very mobile. That's the one thing I liked about him. He's very mobile, and he looked good as a guard. That's why I said he's a 3rd round guard. I said probably like a mid-3rd as a guard. That's why I have him as a late 3rd grade, because I think teams will probably use him there. I think his IQ, unfortunately, is very trash. And it's a little bit scary to me. I saw him give up quite a few times on the play, guys. I saw him give up many times when the play was still going on. and that's a major motor concern. I saw it just looked really lazy out there. And to me, that's something that I cannot accept as a former lineman, as somebody who respects protecting your quarterback. Being a lazy little sack on the field is not acceptable. So as a guard, where your good job is just pretty much to block and follow the center's orders, be my guest. But as a center, I don't know if he's even draftable. He has potential, but he's not draftable. So that's me. That's me. That's my little rant on Creed Humphrey. Just absolutely despise the tape that I saw. And I saw every single game that I could have from him. Next, Joe Tryon. Again, this is the same situation as Levi. You know, they're both guys who are not very polished. They have big lacks in their game, and they took off a year, but they're garnering extreme hype. You know, they're both really good athletes, and they had some good flashes to their game, but that doesn't garner a second round pick. That garners a third. Second round is guys who have probably been more proven or else have insanely high ceilings. Joe Tryon has a pretty high ceiling. That's why I say like end of the second, perfectly fine. But when people are trying to reach into the first for him, that's when I feel a little bit uncomfortable. And obviously, if I gave him a second round grade, I'd feel more comfortable with him being taken at like the end of the first. And I'm not. I'm not comfortable at all with him being taken there. And next, we got Jamie Newman out of Georgia. So, Jamie Newman, I don't know what people like about him. Like, okay, he can be accurate. I really was excited about him. Watched all of his Wake Forest tape. Watched the Senior Bowl. Every single snap he took at the Senior Bowl. I can't see it, guys. He's not great. He's not great at all. Don't really see anything that will translate to the NFL. You know, maybe you can take a flyer on him in the sixth, but I don't understand why people just love this guy. So obviously that is the 15 dudes that I have ranked for us right now as the guys who I'm a little bit lower on. Again, we could talk about Devontae Smith as somebody who I'm lower on because he played at 160 pounds during the season. And that's a little bit scary to put it lightly. And there's quite a few other guys out there, you know, Jason Owe. It's just you're a raw athlete. That's pretty much it. And then there's a couple other guys out there. So, you know, obviously stick around, look at the box, have some fun. Obviously, we produce content all the time, every day. And we're certainly gonna have some more mocks before the draft. So we're gonna be also doing a live stream during the draft. Definitely round one. We'll definitely be doing it round one, but we'll be seeing about round 2, 3, and then day 3 we'll probably not do it. But stay tuned for that because it's gonna be fun. We're gonna have a good time. So let me know what you guys think. Drop your comments down below. I'll see you on the far side. Peace.